Alright, let's try to get this party started. Good morning, y'all. It's Ned over My Philippine Dreams, N to the E to the D, over at MPD, coming at you from Dumaguete City, the city of gentle people, Negros Oriental, the Philippines, area code 6200. Hi, diddly ho, neighbor. Today is Wednesday. Well, it's Wednesday here in the Philippines. December 5th, 2017, the first day of the rest of our lives. Yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. And that's what I keep reminding myself. Well, welcome, one and all, to the Philippine Dreams weekly live cast, where I attempt to cover recent goings-on around the Philippines, respond to viewer comments, and make up exciting stories about my rather mundane and boring life. Now, I know live casts aren't everyone's cup of tea. Some people call them lazy casts and all that, but it's a quick and easy way to connect with subscribers, to connect with listeners, and to talk about things that are going on. So for all the whiners who always complain about the live streams, stick a sock in it. You don't have to watch it. You can turn it off. You have that choice. The live stream's comment section should be open. Let's make sure we're actually live. Okay, looks like we're live. But try to keep it respectful. Try to keep it civil. Try to be nice to each other. If anybody's going to be actively trolling the chat, you're most likely going to get banned. This week I'll be covering the return of the Philippines National Police to the National War on Drugs, DJI drones down in Marawi, some interesting stuff about that, fighting musical fire with musical fire here in the Philippines, and hints of a national firecracker ban. I actually saw some kids running around with the tubes. They got the bamboo tubes with the bottle and all that stuff. They put the lighter fluid in there and light that off. Makes a big bang. But first, this week's corporate sponsor, this week's returning corporate sponsor is once again our favorite corporate sponsor, Chasing Your Philippine Dream, an expat's guide to the Philippines, covering virtually every possible topic relevant to preparing and dealing with long-term life as a foreign expat in the Philippines. The book also comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. If you are not completely satisfied with your purchase, simply email me and I will return your money. Gladly return it, if not somewhat sadly. The 450-plus page ebook is actually pretty dang good. I've got some pretty good reviews on it. No one's ever complained about it. The only problems I've had is there was 2 occasions where guys actually thought it was a actual physical book. They didn't realize it was an ebook. Also realize that the link down in the video description box for the book, you most likely have to use a PC or laptop for it, because Cells really doesn't like Apple and iOS if you're trying to use PayPal. So I hope everybody is well. This past week for me has been a little rough. Yeah, most of that roughness being self-inflicted. I got some bad news late last week, which made me quite sad, which actually made me very depressed. But it was a good kind of depression, because when you can identify what is actually depressing you, those situational depression type situations, that's actually good. That's healthy stress. That's good stress. You can see it. You know what's causing it, and you try to deal with it as best you can. It's only those times when you get the malaise type depressions and you can't identify the source of your depression that causes problems. So I was feeling down. I was sad. I was depressed, and one of my subscribers contacted me, and she lives on the other side of the island, and we started chatting, and I told her, I was feeling down. I was feeling depressed. And she had some time off from work, so she offered to come down. So she came over. She spent about 3 days here. And it was really cool. I was like the Dumaguete tour guide. I showed her around. We went to Darwin. We went to the waterfalls. We went to the kids' house. We did a kids' house update. And it was really good to have the company, because otherwise I probably would have just sat around and felt sorry for myself, which is kind of crappy and not a fun place to be. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandy, for coming down and keeping me company. You know my door is always open to you, and I'll always have ice cream. Appreciate it. Like I said, we did a kids' house update video. I had talked to Junjun about going out there and doing that, so we went out, saw all the kids. They're getting bigger, of course. We gave out some teddy bears, and we just took a little tour of the compound. They got a new pigsty, and they got some pigs and stuff. The pigs are all doomed. We also took a day trip down to Darwin. Sandy had never seen a blue starfish, and I guess hadn't seen Nemo, the clownfish, so we were able to see those. We didn't see any barracuda, which was probably good. We also went to Pulang Bato. Pulan is red and Bato is rock, so it's red rocks. That's the waterfall to the east of Dumaguete. I sometimes think, no, it's to the west. Don't go east of Dumaguete, you'll be in the ocean. To the west of Dumaguete. That was cool, and we also did a video up at Tierra Alta. Oh boy, did that come out interesting. Also, I'm a moron. The last time I took out my drone was in Siquijor. And so when I took the drone out over this weekend, I didn't clean off the lens. Obviously, some condensation had gotten on the lens, and all the footage from the drone that I got from Darwin, the waterfalls, Tierra Alta, and all that, it was all really blurry. But hey, that's life in the fast lane. Let's check the comment section, make sure everything is good. All right. Cess in the City. Yep, Cess in the City has a good channel. Check him out. Good morning, everybody, one and all. Snow is not here in Connecticut yet. I sometimes miss the snow, man. That first snowfall of the year is really nice. I like the first snowfall. By about the 7th or the 8th, especially when it's like snowbanks and all that, gets a little crazy. Pete Chamberlain, hi, Ned, how you doing? I am doing well. Okay, let's get into some news topics. The first thing is, and this affects foreigners, and it recently affected foreigners, President Duterte declares the NPA a terrorist group. This seems to be a long time coming. Why they weren't declared a terrorist group before, I don't know. President Rodrigo Duterte has declared the Communist Party of the Philippines, the New People's Army, the CPP-NPA, for those into acronyms, a terror group, making good the plan he had earlier announced. The president had announced last November 19th that he considered communist rebels criminals after the death of a 4-month-old baby and 2 other civilians in a November 9 ambush in Bukidnon. Bukidnon is down in Mindanao, and that's where a lot of the pineapples around the world come from. I think there's a Dole plantations are down there. When Duterte first announced his plan to label the NPA a terror organization, some senators expressed support. They said it was a long overdue because the NPA had been on the terror list of the United States since 2002. The NPA isn't super active into like kidnappings and all that stuff, but they did kill, I believe, a colonel, a United States Army or Air Force colonel who was in charge of the SEER program. He actually created the SEER program, and they took credit for his assassination. The president has also threatened to go on a strong offensive against militant groups. Under the Human Security Act of 2007, a person found guilty of terrorism should be sentenced to jail for 40 years without parole. The crime is given heavier penalty than rebellion, which is punishable by reclusion perpetua or 20 to 40 years of imprisonment, but eligible for pardon after 30 years. Terrorism under the law includes rebellion, insurrection, murder, and arson, amongst others. The Philippines is the 12th among 163 countries most affected by terrorism worldwide. It's number 12, it's up there. And it's number 1 in Southeast Asia. The report cited the NPA for attacks mostly on government forces and officials. Don't forget also that the NPA recently killed a number of police officers. They ambushed a police convoy up in Negros Occidental, which is north of here, about 120 kilometers. And they also wounded some foreign tourists. One of them got shot in the hand, and another attack near Sipalay. So that's that. It's getting kind of crazy. It's getting kind of hectic. And the stuff down in Mindanao is still going on. The government said they were going to be clearing it up. Cessation of hostilities should be coming up soon, but it's still going on. There's holdouts. People are, they escaped the city and all that stuff, and they're continuing the insurrection. First viewer comment is from Multi Ash on My Filipina Stole My House in reference to loud music in the Philippines. He said, same here with my neighbor, loud music. What I did is wait for them to turn it off, then it's my turn. I'll play mine on 100% volume so they know how I feel, since then they only do it if there's a special occasions like a birthday party. All right, so we're fighting fire with fire. We're getting a sound system. They got some pretty loud sound systems here. The quality's not that good, but they can really put out some sound. And he's fighting fire with fire. In my neighborhood, like he notes, there's only certain occasions that they bring out the karaoke. It's either for special birthday parties, or Dumaguete just had its fiesta and they bring it out for that. And they rent the machines and they go for a couple days. They go for a while. But it's not to the point where it's, constantly going on and it's annoying. So yeah, that's one thing you definitely have to deal with in the Philippines is a lot of music at times. Moving on. Robertas Janusakas on Philippines Honda Click 125 review said, "Your house looks very nice. I'm planning on moving to Southeast Asia for good next year. Been saving money. Have you lived in Thailand and would you recommend Philippines instead and for what reason?" To which I responded, "I have never been to Thailand." People ask me all the time, I've never been to Thailand. Sorry, Twitch, haven't made it up there. There are a number of foreigners who have moved to the Philippines from Thailand, and they note that there's a number of pros and cons to both countries. Thailand definitely seems to have the better infrastructure, internet, roads, communications, all that stuff. Food is a lot better than the Philippines. Sorry, Philippines, but you guys kind of missed the boat. And medical care. I mean, when people need serious medical care, they usually go to Thailand, something like that, if not back to their home nations. The Philippines seems to have the edge on language. A lot of people speak English here. A lot of people can understand what you're saying. The visas are pretty simple compared to Thailand. From what I'm hearing, Thailand can be a pain in the butt when it comes to visas sometime. And also, Philippines is less hardcore Asian. When you get into Thailand, Vietnam, China, Japan, the cultural differences are a lot more severe. From what I hear, Philippines is a little more laid back when it comes to hardcore Asian influences, but it still has its fair share. We're going to be talking about one of those a little later. Also, guys seem to say that Filipinos, for whatever reason, are a lot less transactional when it comes to certain things than they are in Thailand. And again, this is just by what I hear, but I know a number of guys who have moved here from Thailand, and they noted all those reasons. Next up, the Philippines National Police has been ordered to return to an active role in the drug war. If you recall, about a month ago, the PNP was told not to engage in the drug war anymore. There was too many issues going on, and it was just going to be the DEA, the Philippines DEA. The Philippines DEA is a very small organization compared to the PNP. So I guess after a month, 6 weeks, they decided to bring the PNP back into it. You also might have seen reports coming out of Tondo, which is the big slum area up in Manila. There was a police operation that was captured on CCTV from multiple angles, and the police there got some grief because it looked like they just went in and started shooting people up. And at one point in the video, you can see one of the police officers actually turning one of the CCTV cameras around. So welcome back to the drug war, PNP. Hey, Ben. How you doing? I've actually met Ben. Ben from Florida, yeah. We were at Moons together. Moons. All right. Personal note, I'm down to 196 pounds. Over the past 6 weeks or so, 6 to 8 weeks, I've lost about 15 pounds. And that's a combination of actively trying to improve my diet, swimming. I've been trying to incorporate more swimming into my weekly disciplinary route, and also a good amount of self-inflicted stress. If you need to lose weight, just find something to stress about. And you stress about it enough, you'll have no appetite, and you're going to lose weight. So thanks to my better diet and the stress for the weight loss, I'm actually feeling really good. I'm probably going to try to get down to like 190 pounds. I'm going to see how I feel losing another 6 pounds. And it's not difficult to lose weight. You know, when you first get to the Philippines, just because of the climate, the smaller portions and all that stuff, you're going to lose weight. A lot of people lose a lot of weight when they get here. But then after time, you start to gain a little bit weight. You're adapting to it and everything. And you just got to find the local sources of good vegetables, meats, and all that, and just eat smart. And like I said, I do my 3-bean salad. I do my regular garden salad. I have those about 4 or 5 times a week, and the rest of it is basically junk food. Going to the comment section. Let's see if you guys are all being good. Everybody's being good. Yay. Still going to the gym? Yep, I'm still going to the gym. David McGahan asked, I'm still going to the gym. I go to Pete's Gym across from the National Capitol Building where all the Filipinos are doing some, I don't know, they're eating a lot of broccoli and chicken, I think, because these guys are jacked. I've lost strength in my heavy lifts like squats and bench press, but I haven't lost it in like my shoulders and my arms. But when you lose weight, you're going to lose strength. It's kind of demoralizing, but I'm also 50 years old, so, you know, I can't throw around the weights like I used to. And I also got to be careful with my back. All right, moving on. Let's get this done. Michael S. On the Fun to See Resort Waterfalls and Hunting for Breakfast in San Juan Siquijor. He says, I see a new Pinay. Filipino, I guess. There goes the money. Have you bought the family any pigs yet? I'm being a bit sarcastic, but serious. To which I responded, she's not my girlfriend, just a friend, an occasional adventure buddy. And you guys are going to be seeing these people. You know, these are friends of mine. There's no relationship going on. There's nothing going on. It's just, hey, do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? And we just go and do a video and have some fun. I am not in a relationship. I am not looking to get into a relationship. I'm too stressed out about other things. Up next, DJI. I always have a hard time saying that. DJI. Drones getting shot down in Marawi. Various consumer DJI drones are being used in a war right now by both the Philippine Army and the radical Islamic terrorist group called the Maute. I think the Maute are a clan or extended clan. They call them the Maute group. The Battle of Marawi is an ongoing war which started last May when President Duterte declared martial law on the island of Mindanao due to a rise in terrorist activities. Consumer drones are easy to buy and they can give an advantageous aerial perspective. So it wasn't long before both the Maute and the Philippine Army started utilizing them. While the government used the drones to track terrorist hideouts, the Maute also spotted using unauthorized DJI drones to escape and monitor the Philippine Army. So what they're doing is they're bringing the drones up, they're going to major thoroughfares, roads, networks, all that stuff, and they're just spotting where the Philippine Army's going and responding accordingly, trying to keep away from them. Because there's basically mopping up operations after the liberation of Marawi. They also talked to a bunch of shops in the Philippines about where they get these drones from. The Philippine Army buys them from local sources like Macy's Camera Shop in Cebu, where I purchased mine. The preferred drone seems to be the Phantom 4. It's got a better resolution camera than the Mavic that I have, but they also use Mavics. And they confiscated some of the ones that the terrorist group was using, the Maute, and they were unauthorized ones that were probably purchased down in Hong Kong. The Philippine Army was reported down during their active operations to have about 2 drones per battalion, but many of them came back for repairs after they were shot out of the sky. There was quite a few occasions, they noted, where all these drones have a return to home function. So if you lose the camera, if something goes crazy, if you lose connection, the thing will just automatically come and land where you are via GPS. And they had to use that quite a few times. Also, U.S. Army drones have been spotted in Marawi. The U.S. Army is currently developing a unique compact drone which can be used by soldiers to scout surrounding areas. You can see YouTube videos of this little bad boy. It's pretty cool. The things we do to improve our ways to kill each other. Though the technology is still in the research stage, the U.S. Army in the Philippines has also been seen aiding the government by using customized drones to spot a Maute terrorist in Marawi. DJI has gained the reputation, and this is now affecting me, thank you terrorists, as the consumer UAV leader. Since their products are inadvertently being used in wars all over the world, DJI started limiting drone functionality via forced updates to combat these types of situations. Even though their products are being misused, DJI has taken the initiative by fighting back against terrorism. Yeah, so basically DJI is communicating with your drone and all that stuff. It knows where it's at, and that's important because there's nitwits like me who sometimes fly them too close to airports and stuff, and they don't want that happening. And they can also limit their usage in areas, in war areas or whatever, unless they're authorized through a third party or something to do that. All right, that's out of the way. Let me check this thing. Is this thing still going? I'm looking to February. Stop stressing. Dwayne Arnett says, "Stop stressing, Ned. You're kind of Hulk looking." Yeah. Somebody left a comment saying, "Dude, you on steroids, HGH?" I'm like, "No, I've actually lost 15 pounds. I'm losing weight. I don't think I'd be losing weight on steroids or HGH." Now it's time for some free stuff. So if you're interested in getting the free ebook, the trivia question is coming up. Get it ready in get your email browser up, type in myphilippinedreams@gmail.com. That's Philippine with no S. And here we go. Last week's trivia question was, a Filipino made the karaoke machine in 1975, but a Japanese musician invented it 4 years earlier. This Filipino, however, was the first to patent the product, which makes him the first patented producer of the karaoke and the one that we can all blame for the incessant caterwauling around the world that ensued thereafter? The answer was, of course, Roberto del Rosario. Thank you very much, Roberto. And DB Cooper was sent a free copy of Chasing Your Philippine Dream, to which he responded that he already had purchased it. So the first person to email me right now and say, free book, will get a free copy. I'll send out 2 copies this week. This week's trivia question, and this is, I like doing stuff on a personal note, and this is one of my favorite movies of all time. This Korean romantic comedy was released in 2001. It's an old movie, like me, and went on to become the highest grossing Korean comedy of all time. When the movie was released throughout East Asia, it became a mega blockbuster hit in the entire region, from Japan, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines, to the point where it was drawing comparisons to Titanic. I hated Titanic. I really hated Titanic. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll watch it 100 times, and it is, without a doubt, my own personal favorite romantic comedy of all time. The first person to email the movie's name to myphilippinedreams@gmail.com gets a free copy of my book, I should say our book, because there's 2 other authors, and we all have to share the proceeds. A $10.95 value at any of your local book retailers. I love that movie. That movie's so good. And every time, and I'm man enough to admit this, every time it gets to one certain scene, I start to get all teary-eyed. I don't like sob and cry, but man, it's like, ooh. And that's a sign of a good movie, when it can emotionally engage you like that. I love that. David DeSorcy on the last live cast, where I was talking about worst drivers in the world, and Philippines now is number 1. He said, Philippines has the worst drivers and do not have any road sense whatsoever. Block the whole road while trying to make a U-turn instead of pulling in a driveway or something. They pull out of a side street onto a main road and do not look for oncoming traffic until they have already pulled out. Roadkill waiting to happen. Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I still believe this. Filipinos are some of the best scooter and motorcycle riders in the world. I've seen guys going down goat paths with a rooster around one arm, texting with that hand, and just driving with one hand. But when it comes to cars and stuff, yeah, not so much. More personal news. I injured myself yesterday with my drone. Vanguard 1 drew blood on me yesterday. In certain areas where it's hard to find someplace safe to take off or land, you can actually have the Mavic take off from your hand and land in your hand. Unfortunately, after I was doing some filming at the waterfall, I had it coming down and I hit the land button instead of just holding the stick down, because that's the way to do it. You bring the drone down, you grab it, and then you just hold the stick down and the engines will shut off. My dumbass forgot to do that, and it started to go up. I reached up and then it started to come down. And you can't see it because we're only streaming at 360p. But those plastic blades tore me up. There was blood everywhere. There was blood all over the drone. It was not a pleasant experience. But to tell you the truth, because there was like a bunch of people watching me while I was doing this, I'm trying to be all cool with my drone and shit. Then it comes to this when I'm trying to land it. And I'm just kind of like blowing it off. It really hurt. It really hurt. Those things spin at, a couple thousand RPMs. And my pride was actually injured more than my hand was. Also, if you're in the Philippines and every now and then, like, Dumaguete Bid For Me, there's a Facebook page called Dumaguete Bid For Me, and sometimes when people need blood, they'll ask for donations. And a few weeks back, 3 weeks back, I saw that there was a little baby in the hospital, at Provincial Hospital, and needed my blood type, which is O positive. So, being the nice guy that I am, and I hate needles, but I went down and I got it done. I donated the blood. And what's cool is when you do it for charity, if you're just donating blood, they got to do the screen on your blood, all the STDs and a bunch of other things to make sure that your blood's okay. And they give you those results free. So at least I know now that after all my time here, these veins are clean. That's that. Because a lot of areas around the Philippines, especially in the provinces and stuff, they don't have blood banks. And so what they do is they rely on people to donate that have similar blood types. And Facebook is one of the ways that they get that information out. And that was really cool to be a part of it. I don't know what happened to the baby. I hope it ended well because he was really cute. And the mother, And these poor parents, you could tell they hadn't slept in days. Um, she actually had the wherewithal to make a joke and say something about maybe the baby will have a long nose or something. This guy asks, his name is Sezapan Sakowski. He asked, hey Ned, can you clarify something for me? In your ebook, you mentioned that it is okay to get a throwaway ticket with any departure date. Well, I heard also, including in one of Rike's videos, recommendations to get one within 30-day visa duration period. So do you think return ticket for a few months later is a safe option? Excuse me. I've asked 2 immigration officers at the airport this same question, and they said as long as you have an ongoing ticket. And basically, because there's some people that come to the Philippines, they're going to multiple areas in the Philippines, they're going to be here for months. You can only get a 30-day visa when you first come in. You get the free one. So he said as long as you have an ongoing ticket. A lot of times you can't book out more than a year. So, you know, what I try to do, like when I was doing my throwaway tickets and stuff, it was someplace like Malaysia, someplace I might actually go. So I try to put it like 5 months out, 6 months out, and have the option to use it if I decide to go check out Malaysia. So to answer your question, as far as I know, as long as you have an ongoing ticket, you're good. Oahu Dude on the last live stream said, your face looks better without the fat, dude. I'm not gay. This is just an opinion, man. To which I responded, more of my guapo-ness is shining through. Also, insomnia in the Philippines. I don't know if there's any insomniacs amongst you all. I get it pretty bad. And poor Sandy, when she came down, she actually got to witness one of the worst insomnia episodes of my life. I got like an hour and a half, maybe, sleep that night. And what happens when you have insomnia and you're not able to sleep and the hours are going by and you're trying to read, you're trying to just take your mind off and trying to relax. My brain was spinning for a variety of reasons. You're also realizing that tomorrow's going to suck because you won't have any sleep, you're not going to have any rest, and you're going to be exhausted. And that's exactly what happened. So on her second day here, it was pretty much a wash because I was just so exhausted. I couldn't even sleep, like take a nap the next day to try to keep up. Oh man, stress and insomnia. And again, a lot of this stuff is self-inflicted. And I've been around a little while. I've actually worked in the field of mental health for a while, dual diagnosis and all that stuff. And I know that what I was doing was the wrong response to it. When you're experiencing certain things and you can recognize it and say, okay, it's not healthy for me to do this, it's not healthy for me to do that, it's really hard when you're emotionally engaged to do the right thing. Usually our intellect is ruling our emotions. It's usually I over E. The only exceptions to that is when you get really drunk and your emotions rule your intellect. That's why you shouldn't be on social media when you're really drunk. I've made that mistake a couple times. And certain other types, when you're emotionally involved in something, your emotions start to rule your intellect. So I got caught up in that situation. Also, I got Zolpidem, I got the Ambien, whatever it is. The medications for insomnia for me don't work. It actually just makes it worse because when you take the medications, you even get more sedated and groggy. You're physically exhausted, but your brain just keeps spinning and you can't sleep. Big Bear, Huge Bear says, I always feel better when I lose 15 pounds. I just increase my sit-ups and maintain my powerlifting program. Also, Hobo Trekker says, listen to C-SPAN podcast app on low volume and you'll be sleepy in no time. I got to recommend a podcast. The gentleman, it's I don't have it. Theory of Everything. The Theory of Everything is a great podcast that I've been listening to recently. I forgot the gentleman's name. Check it out. I'm really enjoying podcasts a whole lot, and it's part of my daily regimen now. It's good. Patreon. If you've found what I do to be of some value, consider supporting the ongoing efforts on my Patreon site, www.patreon.com/Philippine Dreams. Special thanks to all patrons, past and present, including Sir Rico, Dan N, Tom D, Wonder, that's 1DIR, Wonder, KCS, Dave H, Dale S, Sir Ahmed, Kevin F, and my last patrons, Don and Maribel. It's much appreciated. I know I haven't been doing much content over the past week. I got a whole bunch in the box. I still have a bunch of video from Sicky Horror and stuff that I got to put together. It's just been hard trying to find the motivation to do it. And I got to focus on what's important and quit focusing on the bullshit, if you know what I mean. Next up, Philippines launches probe into dengue vaccine scare. The Philippines has launched an investigation into the immunization of 730,000 children with a dengue vaccine that could pose health risks. Last week, French drug company Sanofi announced its vaccine could worsen symptomologies of the potentially deadly disease in people not previously infected with dengue. The public immunization program was suspended on Friday. Dengue fever affects more than 400 million people each year around the world. The mosquito-borne disease is a leading cause of serious illness and death among children in some Asian and Latin American countries, according to the World Health Organization. Sanofi's Dengvaxia is the first ever approved dengue vaccine. In addition to the Philippines, the company said the vaccine was registered in Argentina, Australia, Bangladesh, and a whole bunch of other countries. Sanofi said in a press conference on Monday that there had been no reported deaths related to its dengue vaccine in the Philippines. As far as we know, quote, as far as we are made aware, there are no recorded deaths that are related to dengue vaccination. Philippine presidential spokesman Harry Roque said on Monday that people should not panic over the dengue vaccine as the government was looking into the matter. I love when they say stuff like that. Dengue is a viral infection which causes a severe flu-like illness that can be fatal if it develops into its most serious form, which causes internal hemorrhaging and death, mainly amongst the really old and the really young, compromised immune systems and like that. The global incidence of dengue has risen dramatically in recent decades, putting about half the world's population at risk of the disease. Sanofi said last week that a new long-term study has shown that while the Dengvaxia vaccine worked with people who had prior infection, it posed a risk for those who hadn't. So excuse my droning. Basically what the situation is with this vaccine right now, if you haven't had dengue yet, don't get the vaccine. If you've had dengue already, get the vaccine. And this is the one that protects against the most severe form. Blah blah blah. So that's basically it on the dengue vaccine. Yeah, and this is one of the things. Every time I get bit by a mosquito in the Philippines, and it happens a lot. You know, it's the tropics. There's mosquitoes all over the place. There's water. They love it here. It's like a mosquito heaven. I'm always like, well, is that going to be malaria? Is that going to be dengue? Or there's one other one I forgot. Zika, something. There's always. And as far as dangers in the Philippines when it comes from biological organisms, mosquitoes are the #1 danger in the Philippines. That's always a concern. The exchange rate, the US dollar is at 50.56 pesos as of yesterday. It's still going strong. Actually, I think the peso is weakening. So the exchange rate is good. When I first got here 4 years ago, it was at 43, and even at 43, it was good. I was like, yeah, I'm getting a whole bunch of pesos for my dollars. Let's go to the comments. Ba-ba. Jason Herring. Nice, Jason Herring. Well said. Well played, sir. Michael W. says Ned sprayer clothes with permethrin. And I'll probably regret saying this. I just can't be bothered, man. Careful money management. Steve Urquhart was responding to somebody. He says basically you need savings, an ongoing income, careful money management, at least 2 islands from her family, and learn to say no in several dialects. Speaking of the language, I've been really putting a lot of effort into learning Bisaya finally. And I'm able to string phrases together. I'm able to understand it still a lot better than I can speak it. But you got to email it. Robbie Lowe, you had to email that in, the free book thing. And at this point, I can basically, if people aren't talking super fast, if they're not excited, I can basically follow the conversation, what they're talking about. I can't get all the details and all that, but I can kind of follow it. And but when you're talking to them and you start using the phrases, they're like, oh, he speaks Bisaya. So they get deeper and faster Bisaya, and then I get lost. But I like it here. I want to stay here and to actually be a part of the culture, to be a part of the living entity that is the Philippines. You got to know the language. You got to know the lingo. Nayade says, if you live in a nice area of the PI, you don't have to worry about mosquitoes. Yeah, Davao Don says, Ambot. I don't know. Walako Kabalu. I don't know. Ambot. I don't know. All right, finally, we're going to talk about, real quick, Filipino cultural topic of the week. I consider there's three main things when it comes to Filipino culture and Filipino cultural psychology, in my humble opinion. And again, I'm not an expert. Uh, Amor propio, hiya, and utang na loob. Also, pakikisama is kind of important. That's smooth interpersonal relations, but that all factors in from those other three. The one I want to talk about today is amor propio. Amor, of course, from the Spanish, love. Propio basically refers to self. So it's like love of yourself, respecting yourself, making sure you do the right things so that you have integrity, you have honor, you have righteousness, you're not offended by other people. And it's like a positive sense of well-being. And there's certain things that people do in order to inculcate that in themselves. In the Philippines, sometimes you'll see that amor proprio brought to the extreme. Sometimes it's like borderline narcissism, or not borderline narcissism, full-blown narcissism. I actually got a Filipino buddy of mine that I've known him for a while, and I noticed on his Facebook that 90% of the photos that he takes that are on his Facebook are photos of him. And he's always scantily clad because he goes to the gym, he works out, and he's got good abs and all that stuff. So he's always like doing sexy poses, but like 85 to 90% of the photos on his Facebook page are him scantily clad in some, exotic location, some exotic locale. And the amor proprio is important to understand because, again, people have that face. They have that, high regard for themselves, and they don't want to be offended. They don't want to be confronted. They don't want to take things in a direct manner. They want options to respond to certain situations and certain circumstances in circumspect ways in an indirect manner so that they aren't offended and that the other person isn't offended. And that's why, you're not supposed to get in Filipinos' faces. You're not supposed to confront them about certain things. I actually experienced it yesterday in Tierra Alta. I'll tell that story some other time. Actually, I'll tell that story in a little bit. And also, when a person's amor proprio gets violated, they experience the hiya, the shame, and you don't want that to happen because people can really overreact in certain situations. They'll either go tampo, they'll shut down, they'll sulk, they won't talk to you, or they'll go get 4 or 5 of their friends and come back and beat you in the head with bottles, which has happened here in Dumaguete actually. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, the Philippines isn't as hardcore Asian as some other countries. It's an influence, it's a mishmash, it's a hodgepodge, it's a miasma of a bunch of different cultures that have been here. You got the Americans that were here, you got the Spanish that were here, you got the native, Malay populations and all that stuff, that influence. You got the Chinese influence, you got the Chinese Filipinos are really cool. I like them. They look cool too. I like that look of Chinese and Malay brought together. Real quick, I'll talk about the Tierra Alta thing. Tierra Alta is a high-end subdivision to the west of Dumaguete. Phil South actually purchased all this giant mountain, basically. It's this giant hill, and your ears actually pop as you're driving up to it. And they got it for like 200 pesos per square meter, and they're selling it for like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5,000 pesos per square meter. And you got all these beautiful houses up there. You got this nice club. You got a nice pool with an infinity pool and all that. They got this observation tower that you can climb up and see all the surrounding areas. So me and Sandy went there yesterday, and the guy's like, "Hey, sir, entrance fee, 50 pesos each." So I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I paid the entrance fee, and we go up. I get the drone out so I can take hazy drone footage. The drone footage came out complete shit, but I'll probably post it anyways because I got nothing else to do. And Sandy jumped in the pool, got some photographs of her in the pool and all that. And we were leaving because we were trying to get to the waterfall, and we walked past them, and the guard grabs us and said, and there was some, talk, there was some interchange. Come to find out, if you use the pool, it's 300 pesos. It's 300 pesos each to use the pool. And nothing is posted, nothing is stated when you go in, and they ask for the entrance fee. And so I was a little upset. I lost my whole sense of pakikisama and all that. And I said, well, how come nothing is posted? How come you didn't say anything? We didn't know about this, and they weren't hearing it. They wanted their 300 pesos. So I pull out my trusty camera phone, and I start kind of ranting a little bit into the camera phone. You'll see that footage at some point. And as soon as I started doing that, the worker there just put her head down, and she started texting or checking, updating her Facebook status or something like that, because I was violating her amor proprio. I was bringing shame. But even Sandy said, and I didn't super overreact. I didn't get loud or boisterous or anything like that. I was just kind of like, hey, it's another day in the Philippines. You just got to pay up and move on. And even Sandy was like upset about it because nothing was posted. And then, so I paid the 300 pesos, and she said, sir, it's 600 pesos total because there was two of you. And I responded kind of, snidely, of course. I said, well, I didn't go swimming. And she kind of looked at me like, I'm like, do you want to feel my bathing suit? And she finally let us go. So my review of Tierra Alta up to that point was very glowing. It was very positive. It's nice to go out there and just check it out, see the view and everything. But they should post the price for swimming. They'll say, 50 pesos entrance fee, 300 pesos to use the pool. And that's it. That's how I roll, man. Ricky Camacho said, Ned, is there a VFW in your area, any organization for vets? I don't have an answer for you. I know in the more urban areas like Cebu, Manila, and all that stuff is VFWs all over the place. I know there's a crap load of veterans in Dumaguete. Michael W. says, Sandy is the new girlfriend? No, I'm not. I don't have a girlfriend. She's a friend, and she did me a favor by distracting me from my self-inflicted sorrow. Steve Urquhart notes, you don't need the encephalitis, but get Hep A and B before you travel. Actually, these are multiple shots you need to get over a few months, so plan accordingly. Malaria pills are also a good idea. Very good advice, Steve. Thank you for that. Yeah, one of the things that they have here in the Philippines is Japanese encephalitis. And I think I got the immunization for that when I was getting it. And definitely get your Hep A and B immunizations before you come to the Philippines. And like Steve said, it's over a couple months. As for malaria pills, sometimes those are only recommended for people in certain areas of Palawan and that where malaria is actually a big problem. And as far as dengue, I've actually known a couple subscribers who have come down to the Philippines and they've actually eaten at restaurants and they've gotten hepatitis. You guys know that if you're not cleaning yourself well enough when you're preparing food and stuff, that it can contaminate the food. Like self-inflicted stress, dengue is an amazing weight loss program. They both lost lots of weight, but they also noted that it was a horrific experience. Good morning, Ohio. Kenny Rain says, good morning, Ned from Ohio. Good morning, everybody. I'm kind of just flying through this. Everybody's interacting well. Oh, somebody said learn Waray. Hey, I can speak Chavacano. Yo hablo Chavacano. No problema. Casino 2004 says, Ned, hit the gym harder and diet harder. You will sleep better. I actually think I got to quit caffeine completely. I think I just got to try to quit caffeine, man. Scott Parnell, Kuriput ko. Kuriput kaayo ko. Gusto ko moato sa Mindanao pero ulan kaayo. And also, when you're picking up Bisaya and you're around strangers, don't let them know that you know Bisaya or that you can kind of understand what they're saying. Because they'll start talking, and sometimes they'll bring you into the conversation, and they'll start talking about you and other things, and bringing all kinds of stuff. And then as you're walking away, just say something. Urani Gal says, hi, Ned. How did the house for rent saga end? Chris was able to sell all his belongings, and the landlord rented out that apartment to a friend of hers. People are wondering, that was the apartment video. Robbie Lowe says, the Filipina I am talking to says she wants to teach me Bisaya. No, she doesn't. She doesn't want you to know Bisaya. Don't believe the hype. Says Style. Yeah, what's up with Says Style? I have no idea. All right, everybody. Thank you for being civil. We got 121 in the chat now. Thank you for your inputs, everybody that had something to add. And yeah, I mean, the big stuff, Benjamin Walker's Theory of Everything. Thank you, Jim Alexander. Props out to Jim Alexander. Jim Alexander, if you have, do me a favor, if you want a free copy of the ebook, just email me at myphilippinedreams@gmail.com. Yeah, Benjamin Walker's Theory of Everything is a really cool podcast. And he's got a bunch of them. There's like 130, 140 of them. Check out Sleep. Jerry Tar, his comment got held. That dengue is some bad shit. Yep, I'll show that. Yeah, it's nasty, especially in kids, and that's what they're concerned about. It's really brutal on kids because they haven't developed the immune system. They're still developing, and it's nasty. So eventually, I'm sure I'll get some version of some dengue or malaria or one of these. I actually hope it's dengue instead of malaria, because the malaria, I guess, lasts a long, long time. Basically, you have malaria for life. And getting dengue is bad because I guess it makes you more susceptible to the next attack of dengue. Your body has a harder time beating it. I almost said beating it off. Inappropriate. But Sean Walker says, Ned, good to see you getting back to your old smiling self. Flying solo is okay, but hope you find yourself a good sexy sidekick soon. Cheers from Chile, Canada. Yeah, I mean, I'm not stressing about that too much. It's more important, I mean, just to have friends and spend quality time and go and do things. And that's where the real reward comes from. Because, sometimes relationships are going to come and go. But the people that you have long-lasting friendships with and you have, meaningful interactions with, that usually lasts a long time, And it's fun traveling with someone. I mean, there's times I like to travel alone. There's times I like to just, clear my head, go somewhere, and just do the solo thing. But it's usually, if not always, more fun to have somebody there just to goof around with, just to help out and do things. And it's a win-win for all involved. And at this point, with my previous adventure buddies and stuff, I can use them as references for future adventure buddies, Say, yeah, he's a gentleman, he's not a creep, just go have fun. Steve Sandy says, Ned, I wonder if the Fukushima disaster had any effect on the Philippines. I have no idea. I am concerned, though, because I guess the Philippines has a nuclear reactor somewhere, and I think they're going to be starting it up or something, or they're working on it. Pete Chamberlain says, I heard the dengue mosquitoes only come out at dusk. Yeah, the only time I get hit in the Philippines is at dusk and in the morning. They like that little twilight area. Also, it's not good to have standing water around your house if you can help it, buckets with water in it. And they also like to sleep, I have a lot of rags and towels I used to have hanging from the grates on the windows on the side of the house, and they love sleeping in there. And also your motorcycle helmet. Dan James says, Ned, did you go and see Miss Nano and family? Take any videos? Yes, I did. I'll be putting those up. The kids have gotten big. I can no longer pick them up by their feet. And they're doing well. And we talked to them. We gave them some teddy bears. Because every kid deserves teddy bears and ice cream. Go Army. Also, don't forget, I mean, if you're living in the Philippines now, Sandy just went to Manila. She actually had to pay full price for the ticket. But don't forget, try to get on the Cebu Pacific and the Philippine Airline spam mailing lists to get their latest promos. Because they usually have awesome promos at certain times of the year. And you can really, I mean, a flight for like 1,200 pesos, that's like $30 to Davao, to Manila, something like that. They really got some great deals. Also, don't forget, Dumaguete has a direct flight down to Camigan right now. And sometimes they got promos on that. And that's something that I want to do. I want to get out to Camigan, come again to Camigan, and check that out. That's the island with the highest concentration of volcanoes in the world. It's actually got more volcanoes than it has towns. And there's a bunch of cool things to see around there. And just had some friends that came back from there. And they were there for like 7 days, 10 days. And they said they still didn't see everything, and they loved it. All right, everybody, thanks again for contributing, taking part in the broadcast. Keep dreaming. If you're here, keep coping with some of the daily craziness that occurs here. And I'm going to do my best to keep on doing the same thing. I'm going to I'm going to try to focus this week on getting these videos out. I'm going to put them together. I'm going to stitch them together. I got to get this done because my backlog is just getting bigger and bigger, and it's stressing me out. Raymond Huffman is asking about questions at condoms at 7-Eleven. They have terrible condoms in the Philippines. Make sure you bring your own favorite brand. All right, until next time, everybody, thanks again. This is Ned over at My Philippine Dreams. Take care and be well. Peace.